Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast brought by Closers.io, where we explore the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Malan Kohut, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced, the lessons learned, and the strategies fueling future growth. Today, I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by Katie Henricks, a leading women's relationship and intimacy coach based in LA. Known for her unique approach that combines deep belief work, skill building, and relationship recovery. Her coaching focuses on helping women reclaim personal power, enhance body image, and build fulfilling relationships through a process she describes as spicy therapy on a medicine journey. Katie's impactful work has earned her a strong reputation fueled by thousands of clients from rapidly growing social media presence, making her a trusted guide in feminine empowerment and personal transformation. With that being said, Katie, let me officially welcome you to Founders Future.
Thank you. That's quite the introduction. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you liked it. I did it. I did my best. So I was hoping for the best.
That was
um,
spot on.
yeah, I love it, Katie. I was looking forward to the conversation. There is a lot to talk about, so we're going to jump right into it. What I love to do with every single one of my guests is a little bit of traveling back in time. So before you even had this company, what were you doing before? And then eventually, what was the motivation for starting the
Yeah.
business?
Yeah, I'm actually a credentialed teacher in the state of California. I love teaching, I love education, and I love psychology. So it served as a really great platform and kind of foundation for me to build on. And I always say, like, I teach, I just don't teach in the classroom and in like a traditional sense, but I am still teaching and just in a really unconventional, unorthodox way that's my way. So
Yeah, I got you. I'm pretty sure there was a lot of pivoting and adjusting throughout the journey until you finally got to this point of running the current business. But what would you say was the biggest inspiration and motivation to make the jump and launch this project?
Oh, I'm going to be really honest with you. Okay.
Go ahead.
Heartbreak. Heartbreak. Absolutely misunderstanding my own relationships, feeling misunderstood, not having the foundational tools for relationship, feeling very inequipped I think in anywhere that you live, relationships are an art, not a science. I say that to my clients all the time. And but specifically in Los Angeles where I live, I was like a fish out of water. I was just used to sort of being married. And so when I got back into the dating world, I got taken out quite a few times. And I was like, you know what, let's dig deeper. Let's find out why these things are happening. What's my role in all of this? And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the work. I ultimately used the tools and the foundational concepts that I teach my students. I use those to rebuild my life and to rebuild relationships and to become more self-aware and to build self-esteem. And I was like, you know what, this is magic. Why don't you turn this into something where you can actually help people? And that's one of the really big concepts that I teach all of my clients is that the hole you crawled out of is the medicine that you serve the world. And so build a business on the thing that you struggle with the most and that you've learned the most from. And that's exactly how I started my business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, we just started and I'm getting so much vulnerability. So I gotta say I appreciate it. But
That's
also
me.
in these situations, I always say, I mean, I'm sorry for anything bad that happened to you, but at the same time, it made you who you are today. So
Absolutely.
the level of understanding and commitment that you can give to your clients just by, being through the trenches yourself, that's something different, right?
You can
So
apply it to any field too. It's not just in relationships.
yeah,
It's that, I'm sure you started your business based on some things that you were curious about and that you needed to get great at, and you eventually found a passion. So
yeah,
it really can be applied to any field.
very true.
Yeah.
Now, Katie, let's talk about what the business really looks like today. In this part of the podcast, my goal is to get the listeners to really understanding, first of all, who it is exactly that you're trying to help right now, but also what are those core offerings that you have in place for your clients? So tell us all about it.
Yeah, my clientele is mostly women from the ages of about 25 to 65. I know that's a really large age range, but relationships affect us all and they impact us all. These are usually women who are struggling with low self-esteem, struggling with low self-worth, out of touch and disconnected from their feminine energy, struggling in their own relationships to understand themselves. Communication techniques is really a huge part of what I teach. And then how that transforms and translates into intimacy. So emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, and giving tools to those clients who really are ready to lean in. These are women who are curious, they're willing, and they crave a sense of stability and empowerment.
I love it. You,
Yeah.
you described a huge pool of women who, if some of them are listening to this right now, they're just like nodding their head. Okay, okay, I'm going to listen some more. But now that we have a better understanding of who it is that you're looking to help, why don't you get our listeners closer to what it really feels like to be your client? What are those offers? What are the different stages that the client goes through? What is the frequency of working with you? Just tell us more.
Great questions. Okay, so I offer free exploratory calls. They're about 20 to 30 minutes for us to get to know each other to see if coaching is right for you. I really want my curious clients to start there because it's just a conversation. It's like, what are you working with? Am I the right coach for you? Are you the right client for me? Coaching is kind of a long-term thing, but I do offer one-on-one one-offs, like an a la carte one session. If someone just wants to have one session with me, I often do that. But I try and take my clients on a bit of a journey. So we may start out with a 1 month intensive, which is 4 calls. You kind of get me like your older, wiser big sister, but I'm a professional and I'm not biased, right? So I'm sort of like your right-hand woman for a month. And I like for my clients to start there if they're looking for one-on-one coaching. And then we explore bigger options like a 3 month container, 6 month container, or a year-long container, which are all of my huge transformational containers. I'm really, really big on serving transformation in women's lives. But I also coach couples and we kind of talk about what containers feel right for them. I also offer workshops, everything from intimacy to body empowerment and transformation to boundaries and communication. So I have a range of offerings that go from sort of one session into workshops or courses. I just released Heartbreak Hotel, which is my breakup recovery program for men and women, mostly women, who are straight out of a relationship and are kind of in that chaotic,
Mhm.
heartbroken headspace. And then I have a lot of things coming out. I don't want to like
You don't want to spoil it?
I don't want to spoil it before they come out, but they're like really, really cool containers coming out around intimacy and self-expression, sensuality, feminine energy. But I think at the basis of everything, I want my clients to learn the foundations of relationship before we get into intimacy. Sometimes a client will come to me a little bit counterintuitively and say, "Hey, I want to talk about sex and intimacy." And I'm like, "Hold on, do you actually have the foundations to
Mhm.
really hold the frequency of that?" The frequency of working with me is responsibility, it's maturity, it's stability.
Yeah, I think there must be many moments where the client comes in and they feel like they know what they need, but they have no idea what it really is.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff that we can keep on like surface level and just touching on, whatever needs changing, but you really have to go deep into these topics and really identifying what is holding me back to actually make that kind of change, right?
Yes. Yeah, and working with me is deep.
Yeah.
It is deep. There's nothing surface level about it. And so that's sort of my ideal clientele is someone who's like, let's go deep, let's do it, let's make the changes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've tried to do it the other way where I'm like, let's just make it accessible for everyone. We can make a surface level container, we can make something deep, and eventually, like pretty quickly, you get to the point where you're like, oh, okay, like we're gonna have to, like, this is really deep change. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say one thing, there's a lot of people who feel like when it comes to the world of coaching and consulting, that you as a coach, the only thing that you qualify the clients for is whether they can afford you or not. But this is not the case. Like the alignment is definitely what you're looking for because if somebody's not going to be committed to the journey, there's no results, right?
that is
So,
such a good point. I'm so glad that you brought that up. That's right. I mean, I think this is why we do exploratory calls is to catch that vibe. I hate to be like kind of like buzzwordy about it, but like it's almost like a first date. I want to know not only can you can we laugh together or can we have basic conversation? But like, do we see the world the same way? Do we have similar goals? Do we connect on this like deeper plane? And I look for that in a client as well, unbeknownst to them. But I sort of like vet my clients for that. Like, are we able to have a deeper connection beyond just you paying me? That does not
Yeah.
satisfy me as a coach, is just getting paid. Some coaches are fine with that. I am not. So
So what do you think? Are we vibing? Could we
we are
work together?
so vibing. I love this. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, I'm loving the conversation so far. Katie, I want to get your perspective on something else because I had a pleasure of meeting with other people from your industry. And obviously, every professional has a different sort of like structure for the offer and different systems behind it. But when it comes to this, there's a different set of questions that you need to ask yourself as a business owner. And one of the things is the scalability of such a company, right? And what you've mentioned so far is basically working with your clients one-on-one mostly. So I'm curious, what is your perspective on scalability of your current company and the stage where you find yourself? And also, are you potentially looking at other models in the future that would allow you to serve more people?
Awesome question, because this is what I've focused on mainly this past year. And because it became very clear to me that I can only sustain this business seeing one-on-one clients for so long before either I'm exhausted or this model just simply doesn't work anymore, because eventually someone's going to get to the point where they've learned what they need to learn. They're ready to sort of fly out of the nest. They're ready to what I call do integration, which is to kind of get out there on the playing field of life and practice all the tools that they've gained through coaching. And that's ultimately what I want for my clients. So there comes this like terminal velocity that we reach with clients for one-on-one containers. And I didn't want to be like perpetually trying to sell myself for one-on-ones. It's not going to get me to my goals. So I have worked on layering my business. I've actually been working with a business coach, Perry Chase, who's amazing, has taught me. I did her Magic Led Business program, and she taught me how to. That's what I'm working on right now, is layering my business. So having one-on-one clients is sort of the bread and butter of my business, but then also having courses, group coaching programs, which have been a godsend because it puts in the minimal amount of work for me, but I'm still giving all of those transmissions, all of the medicine, all of those teachings, everything that I would talk about with a one-on-one client, but for a group of people. So I'm maximizing my effort, or I'm maximizing my clientele for a smaller efforting on my part, and also minimizing my time that I'm spending. And then kind of offering these one-offs like workshops, day-long portals, master classes, things like that. And ultimately, I mean, I'm not just a women's coach. I also like am really sort of just inspired by lifestyle stuff. I'm really big on home and cultivating your home and self-expression and getting dressed. And so what I see myself doing in kind of like expanding into this new year is more of those offerings that kind of speak to the whole woman, the whole life. And so it's more than just coaching, but it really is like a cultivation of a lifestyle.
There's so much variety in terms of what you already have going on and what you're planning in the future, though. Let's talk about the back end side of the business for a second, because obviously we all know that having a good client acquisition system in place, that's one of the key components of really making it succeed with a project like this. So what is it that you currently do on the front of marketing and maybe more specifically lead generation to make all of this happen and have the ability to onboard new clients and have that bigger impact as a company?
Yeah, that is, you're asking the best questions, because this is all stuff that I didn't know when I first started. I thought like I was just going to start talking online and clients would just flood my DMs, and then I, would be like set up. I had to admit to myself at a certain point that I could be good at one thing, maybe two: content creation and coaching. Okay. Like I'm really good at that stuff. I say you can only be a genius in one or two areas before you have to have a whole back end business plan. Marketing, we're working on, but I hired an assistant last year who has changed my life, and she knows all of my systems. So I have a platform on Mighty Networks, which it kind of hosts all of my things. Marketing, it's a little bit, it's feminine-led business. So it's like a little bit more like throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. But I do a lot of sales through my DMs and I do a lot of sales through TikTok. And
Hmm.
and it's been amazing. But I have a whole system. People will fill out an exploratory form and kind of talk about what offer feels right for them. And then I kind of prescribe them where to go. So that's kind of like the sales process for my clientele. And ultimately, like what I said, ultimately, my idea is to take my clients on a journey. I want them to start small and then like get a little appetizer and then like get a salad and then like have a warm soup and then they're like I want the full entree and like let's have some dessert instead of like go through some fun offerings and tastings of my work. But the marketing, the business, the payment implementation, the taxes, all of that stuff, I had to hire a business coach to figure all of that out with me to make sure that I was doing this for sustainability. Ultimately, that was what I had to come up against a couple years ago is like, how do I actually create a legitimate and sustainable business for the next 10 to 20 years? And so it's been a process, but I would say a combination of social media, finding a great platform online like Mighty Networks, or there's a lot of different like platform offerings that you can find that work for you. And then knowing how to prescribe your clientele, what they need and having a plan for that.
Yeah, I see that you've already
Question.
started delegating just to make sure that you are also playing on your zone of genius, like you said yourself. And I would totally agree with this. But also, let me ask you this. What you've mentioned is everything is on the side of organic. And you are one of those people who were successful at building quite a following on social media, especially TikTok, which I'm getting to understand now why that is, because I'm loving your personality. Just a little
Thank
compliment
you.
for you. So
Thank
I
you.
get it. But we all know that when it comes to the organic side of things, this is something inconsistent, right? People are usually frustrated with, having a good month, then having a strain of bad months. There is not so many leads coming in.
Yes,
My question is, do you think you're also going to dabble into paid advertisement in the future just to create something more predictable and scalable?
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. There's a part of it that scares me, but I think that's the next step. It means you're going to be even more seen and like, am I ready for that? And do I have the foundation for that? And that's been my goal over the past few years is have have legitimacy on the other side of curiosity. So like someone can't just come to me and then I can sort of give them pieced up information, but there's nothing really to fall back on
Hmm.
actual plan where they can trust me. So my job over the past couple of years to build my following has been like I'm going to show them literally my resume so that when they come to me, I have something like hearty to offer them,
Hmm.
right? But
Yeah,
paid advertisements is next for me. Yeah. I've been,
sure.
it's been, my business coach has told me, she's like, you like, go. She's nudging me a lot. But yeah, that's what we're doing in 2026.
Yeah, it's lovely to see that you're working with Perry and has somebody like that in your corner because this is all about creating those fundamentals and really building those blocks so that you are ready for the scale, right? I mean, scaling, growing is exciting, but if you don't really build it up correctly, it's just going to come crashing down. We don't want that. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
consistency is key. I mean, everyone who runs a business understands the fluctuations and they're really scary if you're used to like a 9 to 5 and a steady paycheck. You're going to have to get used to those month to month fluctuations that don't feel great and learn how to manage your business and money and stay consistent and in the practice, even when you have those low months, because we're playing the long game here. This is not like just a one off kind of I got lucky in business. This is something that I'm building over my entire lifetime is the goal and to watch the business grow with my life. And so you can't just dip out if you're having a bad month. It's about staying in the game, even when your views are low, your sales are low. You've had a couple clients who've ended their containers, or you're not feeling particularly motivated. This is a long term game that we're playing here. So
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Now, Katie, I feel like every few minutes we mention something that's going to happen in the future. I said it already, there's a lot of ambition when it comes to you, which is lovely. Let's talk about the future in more depth, especially if you really think about the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months. What would you say are like the biggest goals, targets, revenue, milestones that you have set for yourself?
You are asking the best questions. I feel like I say that after every question you ask, but these are so relevant to business owners specifically. You know, as I move forward, I'm finding I always move with desire. Like, I think women in business, they need to allow the business to move with their lifestyle, not try and adapt their life to their business. And so I am always like, what do I want? Like, what's being called? What am I feeling really drawn to right now? It's a very like feel for me. Brand partnerships is next for me 100%. I think that there is like the influencer market is changing. And I think that people who are trustworthy, they're women who've lived real life and gone through real struggles. They're in their 40s, 50s, and 60s are the new entrepreneurs, the new influencers. I use so many amazing products that help support my life and brand partnerships and teaching on other people's platforms is a huge goal of mine for 2026. I got my first big brand deal with We Rise, which is Kim Kardashian's trainer, Sonata Greca, owns a company called We Rise that's about health, wellness, fitness. And she did kind of a caveat in her business around like a series of workshops supporting women entrepreneurs and the different struggles and challenges they may have. And she hired me to do a signature course for her. And that was a fantastic brand partnership. I'm so, so proud of that. The company was incredible to work with from start to finish. And they still follow me on, on platforms and I still follow her work a lot. And they flew me out to Austin to shoot and do a whole series over the course of a couple days. And that was just such a gift in my business and business growth and expanding kind of my professional repertoire, so to speak, and my confidence in speaking about what I do. So I'm really calling in more of that. That fit so beautifully into my plan, and I think it served as a really beautiful like upgrade and a step in the right direction. So I'm really looking to partner with larger creators, larger platforms, women-owned businesses, women teachers. Cody Sanchez is sort of like in the back of my mind. She's been amazing inspiration. And to really pair up with these kind of other powerhouses to see how we can change people's lives is, I think, the next step for me.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting excited for you.
Yeah.
100%. It seems like you are in a good spot, or there's just a lot of opportunities opening up, which is lovely. One thing before we wrap it up, I also want to basically leverage your transparency throughout the whole conversation. We all know that when it comes to business, it's not only the exciting moments, but also the ups and downs and really dealing with your own challenges as a business owner. So, in the spirit of talking about so much growth and scaling the company and the impact that you have, what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge in terms of growing more?
Mm, that's such a good question. I think it used to be being a mom. I'm a mom, and I started my business when my son was about four and a half. And so part of the reason why I created a business and I didn't just go, work for someone else was because I wanted the flexibility of being present for my son. And, if he was sick or he had, an issue at school, that I was just around the corner. And so I've always been really present and available for him. That's my number one priority. But I think now that he's a teenager, which is crazy to say, like I've been in this game for that long to be able to say he was 4 and now he's almost 14. So I think my biggest challenge, I think this year I learned the importance of reinvesting back in my business. And I put a lot back into my business this year for the first time. I had sort of dabbled, but I put, I think close to $40,000 reinvested in my business this year. And I think learning the numbers game for me in terms of business sustainability is something I don't have a business background. I don't have a financial background. So I'm learning all of these really valuable tools along the way that create sustainability for my business and help it function better. So I think it's probably going to be like, how do I use my financial upgrades to funnel it back into my business and actually make it work for me long term into that scalability? It's fun, it's challenging. I feel a little bit clueless. Again, this is not my zone of genius, but I have some really amazing teachers and hopefully I'll be smart about it.
Yeah, I knew I was going to get a smart and authentic answer. So I'm glad that I asked that question, though. Katie, before we wrap it up, I'm going to ask one last question. This is actually one of my favorite ever. So obviously, you've been in this industry and in your own business for about a decade, if not more. So if you could travel back in time and speak to your younger self, maybe at the very beginning of your journey as an entrepreneur, what would be the best piece of advice that you would give yourself?
Oh my gosh. I have so many. I should do a TikTok post on this. I think it would be to believe that you deserve more. Believe you deserve more. Ask for what you really want. Do not settle. Do not take the diet version of what you really want and hold that frequency for yourself.
And here's a little wisdom to finish this episode up. So, Katie, thank you. And in general, thank you for taking the time, though, sharing this story with the audience, with me. I really appreciate your time. It was a great conversation.
Thank you for having me on and trusting me to share what I have to share. It's been an honor. Thanks so
I
much.
appreciate you. Awesome. To our listeners, if today's conversation inspired you as well, make sure to subscribe to Founders Future on your favorite platform. And also, if you're a business owner, more specifically a consultant or coach, or you have an agency and you're trying to scale the business and really enhance both your sales and marketing efforts, also visit closures.io, get in touch with our team, and discover how exactly we scaled our company from zero to over 30 million per year in less than 3 years. Until then, keep on crushing it, and I'll see you on the next one.